Decentralization. So how the individual nodes are connected together and how they communicate between each other. In the last video, we said that a node is a computer with a copy of a blockchain inside of it. If you remember my analogy, then you can think of a node as a warehouse, which can store packages, it can receive them, and also it can send them to the other warehouses. In order to do that, though, it needs to communicate with the warehouses all around. And this is exactly what the blockchain network is. We don't only have one node, but actually there are plenty of nodes in the network. And all of them are interconnected together. And as you can see, they are grouped in clusters. So one is on the right side with the central node connecting them all together. The second cluster you can see here on the left side, again, with the central server in the middle. These two servers are connected, which enables the communication between all the nodes. This is not the real situation in the blockchain, though, because we don't only have a couple of nodes spread all around, but there are actually thousands of them in the network. If this is still confusing, then you can think about the network of nodes as a fishing net. A net is composed of lots of nodes that are connected together. And as you can see, if I want to go from one node to another one, I can do it easily through jumping between the nodes so that then I can reach, for example, this one to pass some information to it. It's also a great place to speak about immutability again, because if I would like to change something in this particular node, so our node, and I would like to change it, I would need to change this one, but also untangle all the nodes around it to be able to get out that rope and do something with it. So as you can see, changing the state of that net is very, very difficult. But as we know how it looks like, let's dive a little bit more into the technical details. So decentralization is based on something called data mesh architecture, which means that the control is spread throughout the network to various nodes, so those peer connection points. And each chosen node is acting as a separate server. When it comes to the full nodes, they are managing the cluster of smaller nodes around them. Two important things to mention here. There is no central entity in a decentralized network. So the control, the management of decisions do not lie in hands of a single node, of a single agent. And the distribution over the entire network allows us to get rid of bias and the misjudgment. Second of all, it's really difficult to alter the state of the network. It's also called tampering. Going back to the analogy of the net, we now know that it's very difficult to change something without affecting all the other nodes in the network. And why does it actually matter? Well, first of all, a decentralized network allows us a trustless setting. But what does trustless actually mean? It means that within a big group, we don't need to know all the members of the group, and we don't need to trust all the members of that group. Because there are thousands of nodes in that fishing net, there is a huge oversight on everything that is going on around, and it's very difficult to do something malicious to that network. Then, decentralization allows us the optimal distribution. So basically, the network is spread evenly across all the different nodes and allows the optimal utilization of our resources. It's also very difficult to lose the data because each member, each node, has the exact same information about the blockchain. So each node is holding those 16 million blocks that we've seen already on Etherscan. So if one node disappears, it's losing the information, it's not a problem because all the other nodes have the same information and they can pass it over. Last but not least, there are no intermediaries, and nodes communicate on a peer-to-peer basis, which means that they simply communicate directly. It's kind of like when you're renting an apartment and you have to deal with the rental agency. you cannot reach the owner directly. You always have to go through the agent. And because of that, usually the entire process is very slow. And also, it's not always guaranteed that everything that you say will be actually handed to the owner and the other way around. So in the decentralized network with direct communication, it's much faster, and we're making sure that the information we're passing is not altered on the way. Let's think about an example from actual life. And what we will look at is a hypothetical database with driving licenses where I have my driving license number and probably also you have a driving license number in. So what happens in the centralized world? Only certain people can actually look into it. Not everyone is allowed to see what is in that database. So I cannot see, for example, your driving license. Most probably, I cannot even check my own driving license myself. Moreover, the control, the management of the database lies in the hands of some administrator, usually just one person. Any changes that that person makes to the database do not really have to follow any specific set of rules. On the contrary, in the decentralized world, in the decentralized database, anyone can have a look at what's inside. So exactly as we did before with Etherscan. The maintenance, so all the changes implemented, are controlled by a group of hundreds of thousands of participants who are validating those changes at the same time. Moreover, these changes have to follow a specific set of rules, and this cannot be overstepped as in the centralized world. Before you go, there are lots of resources on the internet speaking about decentralization, centralization, distribution, and you can find some saying that blockchain is decentralized and the others saying that blockchain is distributed. So here you have an example of a decentralized network and a distributed network. And actually, the articles I just mentioned are both correct because blockchain is a decentralized network where we have the central servers with the nodes in a cluster. But actually, decentralization is a part of a distributed network where you can imagine those connection points as the main servers in the blockchain. And in the background, there will be all the smaller nodes connected to the central server. So if you ever get into that discussion, you can rest easy to know that blockchain is both decentralized and distributed.